The story begins in the middle of the ocean, with a family traveling together. Their lives are happy and everything seems perfect. Julia decides to go for a swim, while Tom teaches his son Ben how to fish. The atmosphere is light and joyful, but suddenly, something unexpected happens. While Julia is swimming, she feels something strange in the water, and fear starts to build as she looks around but sees nothing. Even when she dives under, she notices nothing unusual, so she slowly calms down and continues swimming. Suddenly, the water begins pulling Julia backward. At that moment, she knows something is wrong. She tries to fight the current to return to her family, but the force is too strong and drags her farther away. Julia screams for Tom to help. Tom hears her voice from a distance but cannot locate her. He rushes to search and soon sees her sinking into the water. He quickly calls Cassie for help and drives the boat toward Julia. His daughter wants to jump in to save her mother, but he refuses and tells her to stay with her brother. Tom dives into the water and rescues Julia just as she is about to drown. Strangely, when Tom enters the water, everything seems completely normal and he easily brings Julia back to the boat. He asks what happened. Julia says she does not understand. At first everything felt normal and she was enjoying the water, but suddenly the current pulled her away. She tried to resist, but it was too strong and she thought she was going to die. Tom is surprised by her story and warns her and the children not to go into the water without telling someone, so if anything happens they can react in time. Cassie says after what just happened she will never go into the water again because there must be something dangerous beneath the sea. Even though they are all shaken, they try not to let fear ruin the trip. Later the family gathers to celebrate Ben's birthday. It turns out the trip is meant for his birthday. They give him gifts one by one and take a family photo together. During the celebration, Cassie receives a call from her friend Adam. She steps away from the family and tells him what happened to Julia. She sounds bored and feels the trip is dull. Adam tells her to try to enjoy time with her family and promises that when she gets back he will take her to a fun party. While they are talking, the weather suddenly changes. Lightning appears over Adam and the signal cuts off. Cassie becomes worried and returns to tell her family. At that moment, Tom says he will check it later because he just heard a strange sound outside. He and Ben go out to check and are surprised to see whales swimming very close to the boat. Tom feels something is wrong, because whales often appear when there are major disturbances beneath the ocean, as they can sense geological movements and disasters. Tom decides to dive down to check despite Julia and the children being worried. Only a few minutes later, he comes back up with an injury that shocks Julia. He explains that while checking he felt something behind him, and when he turned around he hit the boat engine and got hurt. Then he shares more bad news. The propeller is damaged and they are now in danger. Tom tries to contact others using the radio to call for help, but there is no signal. At that moment he loses his composure and tells Julia that they are truly in danger, because their food supply will only last 4 days. If no one comes to rescue them, they could die in the middle of the ocean. While they are talking, Tom sees a bright light in the sky. He is horrified as a massive glowing object falls from the sky into the ocean. He runs to the highest point of the boat to observe and sees another glowing object crashing into the water. He realizes a disaster is coming, and becomes even more afraid, thinking one of those objects could hit them. He quickly tells his family to prepare to move. More objects begin falling near the boat, so close that they think they will be hit, but luckily none of them strike. Soon smoke spreads everywhere. Tom fears for his family and tells them to get inside the boat. Not long after, the boat starts shaking violently as a massive storm rises. The situation gets worse and their biggest challenge is keeping the boat from breaking apart. They think this is already the worst, but it is only the beginning. Julia trembles in fear as the boat begins to crack under the storm. Tom decides to fire a flare for help and tells everyone to put on life jackets. Suddenly a powerful shock hits and knocks them all unconscious. When they wake up the next day, the storm has passed. They notice water leaking into the boat, so they go to check and discover the vessel is almost destroyed. Nothing is intact, yet somehow it is still afloat. When they step onto the deck, they see fish lying dead, and then they discover something terrifying. The ocean has completely vanished. Not a single drop of water remains. They look around in shock, unable to believe what they are seeing, as if it were just a dream. Tom turns to his family and says what he is about to say may sound strange, but nothing is stranger than what they are facing right now. Tom says this situation might be the end of the world, and most of humanity is probably gone. The only solution is to try to contact any survivors. Then he realizes the compass is reversed. North becomes south and south becomes north. Every direction is in chaos. Tom guesses that the ocean has not disappeared. Instead, it has swapped places with the land. That means everyone who was on land has drowned, and only those at sea have survived. Cassie is shocked by her father's theory. because it means Adam might be dead. Her mother tries to comfort her, but she completely breaks down and cries uncontrollably. Meanwhile, Ben blows up the remaining balloons, ties them together and releases them into the sky, hoping someone will see them and come rescue them. Tom is impressed by his son's idea and calls it smart. After that, Tom tries to send a distress signal through the boat's communication system, and he is overjoyed when someone finally responds. Tom speaks to the man, almost unable to believe it, and asks what has happened. The man says he does not understand either, but this is a massive disaster. Stations and geographic positions remain the same while the land has sunk. According to him, after some time everything might return to normal and the oceans will go back to their original place. Hearing that, Tom becomes terrified because if the water returns they will drown. When he learns Now is a diver, Tom begs him to save his family and take them onto his submarine. Now agrees on the condition that they must find his location themselves. He describes the exact position of the submarine and ends the call. After the conversation, Tom tries to reassure Julia that they will leave in time before the ocean returns. But Julia feels hopeless and loses all faith. The next day, Tom notices a suspicious stranger approaching them. He goes closer and realizes the man is armed. He also sees that the man is injured and offers to let a doctor treat him, but the stranger does not respond and only stares at the water in Tom's hand. Tom gives him the water. The stranger drinks it instantly. Suddenly he looks at Tom with violent eyes and attacks him. Julia runs over in panic, but at that moment the stranger stabs Tom with his weapon. Julia freezes in shock and Ben is so terrified he cannot move. The stranger continues moving toward Julia to kill her. She panics and runs as fast as she can. He throws his weapon at her and injures her, but she keeps running back to the boat. She quickly hides Cassie and Ben inside and tries to stay calm to protect her children. Realizing the madman is boarding the boat, Julia hides in the bathroom, bandages her wound and holds a weapon waiting for him. Meanwhile, the man eats wildly as if he has not eaten in years, searching for Julia at the same time. When she feels he is getting close to the bathroom, Julia becomes terrified and quietly slips outside, hiding where he cannot see her. Suddenly, a rabid dog lunges at her. Julia, exhausted and afraid, still manages to kill it with the knife in her hand. When the man sees the dog dead, he breaks down because it was his only companion. At that moment, Julia returns to the boat trying to kill him from behind, but he senses her presence and ambushes her. Ben and Cassie watch everything through a small gap in the cabin. They want to run out to help their mother but remember her warning and stay inside. The man drags Julia to the ground and beats her violently. She tries to fight back but he is too strong. He chokes her and almost kills her. At that moment, Cassie runs out of the cabin with a flare gun. Even though she is terrified, she forces herself to aim and finally shoots him. He catches fire and the flames quickly spread everywhere. Julia and the children run outside to gather important supplies. The man still tries to chase them but she pushes him away and keeps running. Then they return to Tom and see the children sitting beside their father's body. Julia breaks down in overwhelming grief. Suddenly, they see the man is still alive and walking out of the burning boat. Julia panics and pulls the children to run. Ben refuses to leave his father, but Julia tells him if they do not leave now they will die just like him. Finally, they reach a place where they can hide from the man. Cassie says she thinks the balloons accidentally helped him find them. Ben collapses emotionally and feels responsible for his father's death, but Julia comforts him and says it is not his fault. The three of them decide that from now on they must fight to survive in this broken world. They keep moving and Ben notices a giant fish. He goes closer to see if it can be eaten. At that moment, Julia sees a shadow approaching. When she looks through binoculars, she realizes it is the man. She immediately grabs the children and runs. All three of them sprint until they finally escape. But after they get away, Julia realizes Ben is severely dehydrated and needs water immediately, otherwise he could die. She takes the last bottle of water to give him, but she is shocked to see Cassie forgot to close the cap and only a single drop remains. Julia gives Ben that last drop and angrily blames Cassie, because this mistake could cost their lives. Cassie breaks down and says with or without water they will die anyway, because she saw the man kill their father Tom. Julia shouts at her to be quiet and insists there must still be a way to survive. They keep walking until they find a crashed airplane lying on the ocean floor. The three decide to go inside to rest. They eat the chocolate Julia brought from the boat, then cry together for Tom, unable to accept that he is gone. To comfort the children, Julia tells them about the first time she met Tom and how she fell in love with him. But as she speaks, she realizes she cannot live without him and breaks down in tears. After everyone falls asleep, Cassie wakes up feeling suffocated and goes outside to sit alone. Suddenly, The man appears behind her and moves in to kill her. Luckily, Julia arrives just in time and attacks him from behind with a knife. She stabs him over and over to make sure he is dead, falling into panic and continuing even after he is gone, saying it is for Tom. Cassie runs over, hugs her mother and tells her it is enough, then leads her back to the plane. The next morning, they discover something has eaten part of the madman's body. Julia says that means they are in danger and must move carefully. At that moment, Ben hears a groan and runs to check, then tries to drink from a dirty puddle. Julia and Cassie panic and pull him back, saying they understand he is thirsty, but if he drinks that water he could die from disease. They continue their journey, gathering pieces of plastic around them to build a temporary shelter for the night. Cassie falls asleep from exhaustion, while Julia cannot sleep and steps outside to keep watch. Suddenly, she notices a swarm of scorpion-like creatures moving toward them in massive numbers. Julia is terrified because they have no weapons to fight them. She rushes inside to wake Cassie and Ben and tells them they must leave immediately. The three run as fast as they can, and while running they spot a place where other survivors are staying. A woman in the group wants to help Julia, but the others refuse because they no longer trust anyone and fear Julia's family might bring danger. They pull the woman back inside and shut the door in front of Julia and her children, ignoring her desperate pleas. Julia refuses to give up and tells her children to climb up the structure, then tries to follow. Because of her age, she climbs slower than the kids. At that moment, the creatures catch up and bite her leg. Just as she is about to be killed, Julia manages to climb up at the last second. The people above try to shoot the creatures, but there are too many and the bullets seem useless. Sitting on the roof in panic, Julia feels intense pain in her leg. She tears her scarf to bandage the wound, then collapses and loses consciousness. After some time, she wakes up and panics when she does not see Ben and Cassie beside her. She calls out their names but no one answers. Afraid the worst has happened, she climbs down and discovers the creatures have killed everyone who refused to help them, even feeding on their bodies. From the traces, Julia realizes these same creatures had eaten the madman's body earlier. She picks up the remaining weapons and continues calling for Ben and Cassie. Not long after, Cassie runs toward her and hugs her tightly, relieved that she is alive. She explains they did not abandon her. They only went to find help because they tried many times to wake her but could not. Julia says she is fine and hugs Ben to comfort him. After that, the three decide to take over the shelter and gather all the weapons to defend themselves. Julia treats her wound using crude methods. A while later, they find water and drink in relief, unable to believe they finally have something to drink. As they continue searching the place, they discover a radio. Hope returns when Julia manages to contact Now, the man she and Tom spoke to before. She realizes Now is also injured, because he has been fighting the creatures and other survivors trying to steal his food and water. Julia steps away from her children and tells Now that she does not care about her own life. The most important thing is for him to save Cassie and Ben. Now replies that he will try to save all three of them. He fires a flare so they can locate his position. When Julia sees the signal nearby, Hope returns and she immediately leads her children toward it. As they move, it begins to rain, so they decide to walk along the rocks for cover and continue their journey. But suddenly something unexpected happens. The rocks beside them begin to collapse. Julia worries for Ben and Cassie and pushes them away. Suddenly, a massive rock falls between them, leaving Julia trapped alone. Cassie breaks down because there is no way to save her mother. Julia tells her she cannot go on and orders Cassie to take Ben and run to Now, because he can help them. Cassie breaks down in tears and says she will never leave her mother behind. But Julia shouts at her to leave immediately, begging her daughter to run so her sacrifice will not be wasted. In the end, Cassie understands and pulls Ben away even though he does not want to go. The two of them run as fast as they can until they reach the submarine, banging on the door and calling for Now. After a moment, Now appears. Cassie is shocked to see his body covered in wounds, thinking he needs saving more than anyone else. Now says that according to his knowledge, the ocean could return at any moment and they may only have minutes left. He urges them to get inside the submarine quickly if they want to survive. At that moment, Cassie feels hope for the first time and believes the nightmare is almost over, but she decides to go back to save her mother so the whole family can be together. Meanwhile, Julia is fighting the creatures with her gun, but her bullets are running out and the creatures are getting closer. Julia falls into despair, realizing she is about to die with no way to escape. She stands still, waiting for her fate. At that moment, Cassie appears above the rocks, reaching down and calling for her to hurry. Julia cannot believe she has a chance to survive. She struggles to climb before the creatures reach her. After a desperate effort, she grabs Cassie's hand and pulls herself up. They keep running until they reach the submarine. Now is sitting on the ground trying to endure the pain. Suddenly the creatures appear and drag him away, killing him. Julia and the children climb onto the submarine. The creatures swarm everywhere in growing numbers. Julia tries to shoot them, but the bullets no longer matter. Finally, she stops fighting and rushes her children inside the submarine, then seals the door to keep the creatures out. The three of them stand by the window watching the creatures trying to get in. Suddenly they see the ocean water beginning to return. Julia quickly tells her children to fasten their seatbelts. Water floods back with immense pressure, so strong that Julia and her children think the submarine will be crushed. Julia feels this might be the end. In that moment she remembers everything her family has gone through, then closes her eyes in despair. After some time, Julia wakes up with her children and realizes they are still alive inside the submarine. When they look outside, they see the submarine floating on the surface. They open the hatch and look around in shock. Everything has returned to normal. The ocean is back and the land has returned to its place. Even though many places are destroyed, life has come back. Julia holds her children tightly, hoping for a new life with them even as she still misses Tom. The story ends.